lecture today in the series of 75 lectures, which we are going to have to commemorate the 75 years of independence of India on 15th August 22. And before that, we have to conduct this 75 lecture series. In this lecture series, we are having many lectures related to scientific aspects, related to motivational, spiritual, and many others. So in that series only, we are having a very important lecture today on aquaculture. And in this, we are having none other than Dr. J.K. Jaina, a very long experienced person in the fisheries science, who is presently the Deputy Director General Fisheries Science at Indian Council of Agricultural Research. Dr. Jaina has about 30 years of research experience in different fields of freshwater aquaculture and conservation genetics. At present, he is holding a very key position, and for more than 5 years, he is holding this position. Prior to this, he served as the director of the National Bureau of Fish Genetic Resources at Lucknow, and he also worked in the various aspects of freshwater aquaculture at the Central Institute of Freshwater Aquaculture, Bhubaneswar. During his initial career in different capacities, including as National Fellow of NAS and head of the division, Dr. Jaina has contributed to the development of several technologies and research findings, including breeding, seed production, and farming of diversified carp species, multiple cropping of carps, intensive carp culture, treatment of domestic sewage through aquaculture, cryopreservation of fish meal, and applied nutrition. He has very good research interests in fisheries policies, fisheries legislation, fisheries management, and international law of fisheries and the law of the sea. He is a very experienced person. He is the key person for any fisheries related policy issue, any research issue related to the fisheries. So we have invited him, and he's going to talk on a very important topic of aquaculture, avenues for assuring fish. And fish, he has very nicely narrated what is the abbreviation of fish: the food security, income growth, social upliftment, and healthy life. Thank you very much, Dr. Jaina Saab. We will love to know more about the latest, how the aquaculture has contributed in the last 7 decades, how many times the production has increased, and what are the government schemes like the latest one, Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, where we are, the government is focusing more on the private investment, and so on and so forth. So I'll not take much time. I will request Dr. J.K. Jaina to kindly take the floor, and please start your talk. Thank you, Dr. Jaina. And after the talk is over, we'll give floor to the participants for their queries or for their questions or for their remarks. So thank you, Dr. Jaina Saab. Over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Agrawal Saab. Most respected Dr. R.C. Agrawal ji, DDG Education, National Director of NAEP, and convener of lecture series of India at 75, which we have been organizing. Respected seniors, colleagues, student friends, ladies and gentlemen, and one and everyone who have joined for this important program. Friends, it is indeed a great honor for me to be given opportunity for this public lecture. I know the participants of this lecture series are from diverse group, starting from professional, intellectual to the students, all those associated with the sector, well-informed people, common men, consumers, to producers, everyone. I do understand, considering the diversity of the group, diversity of the participants, I will confine my talk to very quite generic aspects, which would be understandable to everyone. Only I would like to convey my sincere thanks to each one of you, those professionals and intellectuals who have joined. Please excuse me, as because I will not be going deep to the subject, as because there will be people who are common public. As has been told by Dr. Agrawalji, it is not only 300 people who have joined under this platform, but also people have joined from the Facebook and other social platforms. So my talk will be quite a generic one. So let me share my presentation. Just give me 1 minute. Is it visible, Agrawal Saab?
Yes, sir. It is visible.
Okay.
Yes.
Just 1 sec. I do not know where it will go. That one minute. Just give.
लिंक भी भेज दिया अलग से और दूसरी ईमेल में फिर
Okay. Just 1 minute, because in the beginning there is something is coming. I do not know what to do. Okay, doesn't matter. Friends, all of us are aware that with the increasing population and with the increasing awareness rather for the demand of fish, we have been able to witness that there has been an increasing demand of fish over these years, and we do consider aquaculture is the only option, probably the main option for increasing the main option for meeting the increasing demand. In this context, my talk is on aquaculture, which is the avenue for assuring fish. Definitely, aquaculture is the only avenue at present, what we think, for meeting the extra demand for fish. But here I want to mention, as Dr. Agrawal have told, fish is not only meant for fish. What I thought is fish, FISS, should mean food security, income growth, social upliftment, and healthy life. When we go back to the history of fish as a food, we need to go back to the age that people were depending on the hunting and gathering, maybe about 10,000 years to 50,000 years back, where people were just harvesting or trying to catch fish from the wild and trying to consume, whether it is in the raw form or cooked form, in different forms. Again, a study about 10 years back, which was published in PNAS, if I remember correctly, it was 2009. The publication was, they got some skeleton of a human being, of a Tianyuan man, which was buried in the ice snow of Tibet. And when they tried to analyze through isotopic study, they found that this skeleton was of a young man of about 40 years of age. And at that 40 years age, he had consumed about a lot of freshwater fish. And they found that this skeleton was about 40,000 years back. That means 40,000 years back, also people knew that fish is an important food. Again, all of us do talk of, again, the history of sculpture, what we get in the tomb of Egypt. We know about 4,000 years back, also some tombs which was constructed. You find the sculpture of the several fish, including the tilapia as main one. That means much before that, people were using fish. Again, if you recently there was again archaeological discovery. What they found that mummified remains of a human being, a young man, and they found that man had his digestive tract was intact, And the last food he had taken was a soup which contains also tilapia. That means 4,000 years back, also 4,000 BC, that means 6,000 years back, people were consuming fish quite often. This can be seen in the sculpture and paintings of many places. Even when we see our epic age, for example, Mahabharata, which was fought, it is believed that Mahabharata was fought somewhere around 3,100 years BC. If that means 5,000 years back, also we know about the history like Matsya Gandha and the Satyavati, what we say, all of us know. That means all those days also, if we believe those epic age, also people are using fish as an important food. Then when we say that, okay, fish was an important food, probably that time there was not sufficient food was available. So do we need fish today? To substantiate that, we know that there has been several food we consider as a superfood. We know there is not a single food which can meet the nutrition and everything whatever need for the human health. But some of the superfood which we consider which has a special recognition, we call as a power pack, which provide power pack meal to our for a healthy eating pattern. So the Harvard Medical School, one blog I could find that they have listed about 10 superfoods, and fish is included as one of the most important superfood. And FAO also considers fish as a nature superfood. All of us are very much aware about that. For fighting the malnutrition and hunger, how important fish is playing, all of us know. It is not only providing protein security or nutritional security, but also providing engagement of for about 60 million people in the primary sector of fisheries and aquaculture. And we consider at least 50% of the global population are depending on fish for at least 20% of their animal protein sources. And the value of this fisheries and aquaculture produce, which we have, is contributing somewhere around 400 billion US dollar worth of produce. When we consider fish as I told, it is considered as an important superfood. Why it is considered as a superfood? We know it is an important source of dietary protein. What we say, whether it not only protein but also balanced amino acids, which I will be talking. Most importantly, the omega-3 fatty acid, highly unsaturated fatty acid. What we say, for example, eicosapentaenoic acid or docosahexaenoic acid, which are not biosynthesized by the human being or mammals, which are so essential for our life. Besides this, containing high amount of vitamins, mainly the soluble vitamins like A and D, good source of minerals. I need not mention what are those, all of us are very much aware. And we see that fish, we say that fish as a food has more than 50 different health benefits, whether it is cardiovascular disease, mainly heart disease, or hypertension, diabetes, arthritis, bone-related issues, brain development, or anything you do talk of, fish has been helping as a nutrient, important health food. When we compare fish protein with other plant protein, for example, groundnut and soy, we can find here the most important amino acids like methionine and lysine content much higher than the soy and groundnut. And when we talk about the consumption pattern in different places of the globe, you see that some of the countries, mainly the Southeast Asia region, with Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia, or China, all those countries, the consumption pattern is quite high. And we know that Asia, being the major producer of the fish, we produce about 89% of the total fish, whatever is being produced. this region, Asia region. So obviously the consumption pattern is also very high. But some of the countries, for example, North America, even though production is not that much, but still consumption is quite high. You would find about 20 to 30 kg per year per capita per year. Mainly, that is the reason why they import from most of the Southeast Asian countries. Again, when we see the growth in the consumption, we find the last 60 years, you find the consumption has grown about 3.1%, when the population of the globe is increasing only during the 6 decades, has been increasing only about 1.6%. And in spite of the fact that the population has increased, the per capita consumption of fish has almost doubled from less than about 9 kilo per capita to about more than 20 kilo at this point of time. If we see again the fish consumption pattern in India, we see it is not uniform when you talk of compare with the other countries, South Asian countries and all. You find the consumption pattern is almost similar in everywhere. But the country like ours, we know many of us, we don't consume fish. Maybe only about 60% of people who are consuming fish, pescatarians rather, we can say. And there are, again, people, those who consume fish, they don't take, or so several of them do not take fish even 365 days. They have, because of several religious and other factors also are involved. When you talk about the major producers, we can see from here, Andhra Pradesh, West Bengal, Gujarat, and so forth. And the consumption, if you see, it is mainly the island, whether it is Lakshadweep and the coastal areas, Kerala, Goa, and all, the consumption is quite high. You can see from the picture itself. Coming to the global trend, if you look at the global trend in last 70 years, we have witnessed about 9-fold growth in the production, and which has been possible, largely possible because of the increase in aquaculture production, which was almost nil in 1950s. Today we are talking of somewhere around 82 million ton. And of course, inland and marine contributing substantial in this context. If you look at the marine production since last maybe 30 years or 35 years, you would find the production from the capture has not increased. Rather, it has been stagnating somewhere around 90 to 98 million ton, hovering somewhere around this. And we don't foresee also in the coming future also production is not likely to increase from the capture. So only option before us is to have the fish from aquaculture. We know some of the countries like ours, we don't produce seaweed, or we don't consume that much of seaweed, but some of the countries also we globe produce about more than 32 million ton. Of course, about 22 million ton of fish and shellfish are going as non-food use, mainly for the fish meal, fish oil production, and so on and so forth. Coming to the, again, when we look at the future, we know that we need to produce, we need to increase our production maybe another 26 million ton. We need to add in another 10 years of time or 9 years of time from the present level of 178 million to 204 million ton. And as I told, there is no scope of increasing the production from capture. So we need to think that total production, whatever extra production, has to come from on the aquaculture, and that to freshwater aquaculture has to contribute substantial amount. It is envisaged that we need to produce at least 62% from the freshwater aquaculture. And when we look at the major producer, we know, as I told, China, India, Indonesia, Vietnam, and are some of the countries which produce bulk. But some of the countries like Norway and Chile, though in volume terms it is not comparable with ours, but in the value terms, they produce quite a high amount of, mainly because of the salmon, which is a high value species. And the major species, again, carps has been the major contributor, whether it is grass carp, silver carp, common carp, or some of the Indian major carps, and tilapia. And when we talk again, the marine culture, it is the salmon, or again, coastal aquaculture, the land-based coastal aquaculture is shrimp, which contributes the bulk. Coming to again Indian facts, a few facts of Indian fisheries. As we know that fisheries is one of the important growth drivers for agricultural growth also. We do contribute at present about more than 7% to the agriculture GVA, more than 2 lakh crores we have been contributing. And if you see the average annual growth to the GDP, this is one sector, unparalleled growth, about a 10.9% growth, annual growth rate in last 5 years, which may be considered unparalleled. We have been producing fish from maybe from less than 1 million ton. Today we are talking of 14.2 million ton, a 19-fold increase in growth in 70 years. And again, 6 to 7% growth if you witness in the last 3 decades because of the aquaculture is unparalleled. It is not only in the quantity term, but also in the value term when we talk of not only domestic market, but also export. We do export about 47,000 worth of 47,000 crores, mainly again contributed by a single commodity, that is shrimp. You can look at the graph from where you can see last 30 years, if you see the marine production is almost stagnating somewhere around 3.6, 3.8 million ton. And it is the aquaculture last 30 years, you can witness the growth which has been showing. And if you look at the drivers, if you and again analyze the main drivers which is contributing such aquaculture growth, mainly the technology. It is not only the technology, the dissemination of the technology which has reached to every nook and corner of the country, the adoption by the farmers, the entrepreneurship that has happened in the places like Andhra Pradesh, coastal areas is one of the good example for that. Mainly for the freshwater carp farming, carp polyculture, or shrimp farming in the Nellore or other coastal areas of Andhra Pradesh. We say these are some of the drivers. Again, investment, when you look at the investment, mainly the private investment has been quite substantial. There has been increasing partnership. We know at a time when marine catches are stagnating, we are looking at aquaculture. We consider this aquaculture maybe even today can be considered as a sunrise sector. If you look at the export of the marine products, you can see the growth in export has been only in the last 10 years. It is mainly because of the introduction of the Bhanami, large-scale adoption of the Bhanami farming, and how the production has increased. You are able to see not only in the quantity term, but value term, it has grown substantially over these years. I don't intend to give the resources. All of us know, we all the time say that the country is blessed with so much of resources. Yes, true. Maybe some of the resources like reservoirs we have not been able to utilize. Coastal areas, whenever we are talking of coastal areas, our exploitation has been confined to the inshore areas. Still, we are looking at to go beyond inshore areas, beyond 50-meter depth. Oceanic waters, there has been several issues, but we need to analyze those issues and draw our perspective. How do we go ahead of increasing production? Again, when we look at the freshwater aquaculture, we do consider ponds and tanks are important resources. But when we again characterize these resources of pond and tanks, you would find maybe 50% of them are not meant, probably was not constructed for fisheries purpose. we have been using the as a secondary activity as a fisheries, but primary activities for domestic core, or for irrigation, or for several other things. So it is not that fact that all the 2.36 million pounds hectare of pond and tanks are totally available for only fish farming. Looking at the marine fisheries, of course, I will be going to, it is not my talk, it's not a marine fisheries, but we need to understand how the marine fisheries has grown, in spite of the fact that this contribution has not increased substantially or has stagnated. Still, a large mass of the people are depending on the sector for livelihood and economic activity. We know that mechanization over the year, there has been increased mechanization. We can see the mechanized or motorized vessels which have increased substantially, but the contribution, if you look at, with only 26% of the mechanized vessels in number, the sector is contributing somewhere around 85% of the total produce. Again, looking at the future, whenever we are thinking to exploit of the resources of deep sea resources of the areas beyond 50-meter depth, more mechanization is going to happen. And I'm sure in the coming days there will be still, when we talk of the resources, unexploited resources in open water, we'll be able to exploit to a good amount in the coming days. Looking at the capture fisheries, we have some development in the capture and the different type of vessels, starting from simple mechanization to fuel efficient multi-purpose vessels, several trawl designs, gear designs, reduction, maybe bycatch reducing devices, whether it is TAD or square mesh cordon and so on and so forth. There has been substantial improvement in the system. But if again you look at the major producer, we have seen the traditional state once, maybe 30 years back or 40 years back, we used to say the Eastern Indian states were the traditional fish farming states, whether it is West Bengal, Odisha or Assam, this region. But today, if you see the production, the Andhra Pradesh has been the major contributor, and all of us has seen the development which has happened in the Kolari Lake region, West Godavari and Krishna district of Andhra Pradesh. But the fact is, it is not only concentrate. If you see the trend over the years, we find there has been several places, the hubs, there has been aquaculture hubs coming up, and we are sure in the coming days also, you would find several such hubs in different parts of the country. Looking at the freshwater aquaculture, we know that India has been a carp producing country. We have been, the Indian major carp like Atla Roe Mrigal has been the major contributor to all those production growth, whatever is happening. And if you look at the trend, the last 4 decades, if you see, the production has increased at least about 5 to 6 fold, from less than 600 kilo. Today we are talking of national production somewhere around 3.5 ton per hectare. It is national production. When I do talk of national production, somewhere still you find where seasonal ponds still 500 kilo, other places you get 10, 15 ton production. Several hubs you will get where people are producing more than 10, 15 ton production. Recent years, there has been increasing activity. Again, the adoption of monoculture of fungus, where 20 to 40 ton have become very common. And large scale production you can find in many places in, again, Andhra Pradesh. One area probably we see there has not been growth at all, rather there has been reduction in production is one on freshwater prawn farming. Once India was producing about 50,000 tons, now we are producing about somewhere around 10,000 tons. Of course, their reasons are many. I don't want to analyze those reasons, but time has come that how do we again increase the production from the freshwater prawn farming? We need to have a plan in before us. Of course, there has been some development and adoption of again banana farming in some of the inland areas. looking at the diversification, we tried to, the country tried to again bring more species, regional important species into the farming. And it is because the acceptance of the, or the preference of the fish. It is not that when you talk of chicken or mutton, we only talk of different items. But when you talk of fish, we don't, those who are fish eaters, if we like to have all 7 days, 2 times fish, lunch and dinner, we don't like to eat the same fish every day. We like to have different fish. If we want to have 2-3 different dishes, we like to have 2-3 different fishes. So that is why diversification becomes so important today. Over these years, we have been able to develop breeding and seed production protocol for more than 40 species. Of course, several of these are conventional species, like some of the medium carp, some of the catfishes, morels, which are getting acceptance or widely sought after species in several places. Some of the catfishes and some of the exotic species, for example, pacu, tilapia are gaining importance. Some of the species, again, regional demand, whether it is, for example, chitala or even the anavas and so forth. Even some of the brachycephalic species has a high adoption capacity, rather I would say, in the freshwater environment, whether it is sea bass, milkfish or mullets. We know that the potential these fishes exist for farming in the freshwater also. Looking at the diversification, we know traditionally we have been a carp polyculture country, but over these years, as I told, we have gone to again monospecies farming of pangas, pacu, tilapia, and so forth. Of course, some of the traditional systems, sewage spent farming, integrated farming, there has been some development over these years. In the coastal aquaculture, as I told, shrimp farming has been the mainstay in the coastal areas. Of late, again, enclosure farming, sea cage culture is gaining importance. Of course, in recent days, whether it is RAS, biofloc technology, or talk all the time when you look at some of the diversification, again, pulp farming and whether it is seaweed farming, ornamentals and all are some of the areas we are talking at this point of time. When you look at the carp polyculture, it is not the only high input based system. Even today also you find several of the seasonal water bodies where people go for only low and medium level of farming, only 2-ton, 3-ton production levels. People with the consumer acceptance for smaller size, people are looking for, again, the varying the cropping pattern, not necessarily that we need to think for only 1 kilo plus size of fish, maybe 400, 500 gram fish also gaining importance. So people are looking at 2 crops or 3 crops in a year at this point of time. As I told, the diversification with the exotics, whether it is pacu, tilapia, monosex tilapia, or even the pangasius farming. If you look at the trend of the pangasius farming, which was confined to only Andhra Pradesh, now you find the farming in every places of the country. If you look at in the last 10 years, the growth in the pacu farming, we will find the growth. Even today, we are talking of somewhere around 2,500 hectares of area is under pacu farming. All those has been possible because of the seed, the breeding technology of 1957 by Hiralal Chaudhary, Ali Kuni et al., which has totally revolutionized the sector. We have a total shift from natural collection to hatchery produced seed. We are talking of multiple breeding, off-season breeding, November, December, January period with photothermal regulation. But there have been several issues remains. Also quality remains issues, whether it is backcross, whether it is hybrid. Diversification, we have been talking of diversification, probably the amount, whatever the seed we require is not coming forth. Again, when you talk of the hatchery development, different scale of operation, different species, but again, we are looking at the quality. So hatchery accreditation, seed certification are the some of the aspects need to be given emphasis. We are talking of the hatcheries. If we are looking at the increasing another 5 million ton from the freshwater aquaculture in next 5 years, that means you need again fingerlings of at least about 8 billion fingerlings more. That means at least you need about 600, 650 additional hatcheries in coming years. So the capital investment that would be required at least about 200 crores, which we think we need to have a special drive definitely for that. We need to think for hatcheries for diversified species. We know as because the calf seed production is so easy, everybody like to have a calf hatchery rather than the hatcheries for morels or hatcheries for other catfishes. As I told, the fingerlings or fry production, we have been able to increase substantially. If you talk of today, we say that about more than 50 billion of fry we do produce. If you calculate, probably it is self-sufficient. But when you look at the quality in terms of fingerlings or yearlings availability, probably we need to go much beyond our whatever the action at present we have been taking. So several of the concept of seed village, in situ rearing in the reservoirs are some of the aspects we are talking of, from the conventional nursery, from the pond nursery to concrete nursery. For that you need huge investment in coming days also. Looking at again, we are talking till today, probably our production, whatever we have been able to increase, it is mainly because of the input-based production. We have been able to increase our production with the additional feed, additional other inputs, good seed and all. But the coming years, if we want to increase the production, it is likely that you won't be able to increase the area under farming. You need to go for vertical expansion. So we need to have approaches more of a knowledge-based farming rather than in the input-based farming. In this context, the potential of the fish species which we are farming, we need to exploit through genetic improvement program, or one of improvement programs are one of the approaches. So we have seen last 25 years, we have been able to increase the for example, the species like Rohu, what we call Jayanti, after 10th generation, we have been able to demonstrate an increase of about 50% higher growth in the farmers' field in several places of the country. Again, Katla and freshwater prawn also improvement program is going on. And good thing is, for example, Katla, even after second generation, we have been able to demonstrate growth increment of about 30% higher growth. Looking at the perspective, we need to bring new species. We know that it is a high capital investment necessary. You need more infrastructure, but this is one approach probably everybody has demonstrated, whether it is with regard to salmon or other species. Everybody has shown the potential of selective breeding technology. We need to bring more species of promise in the coming days. Cryopreservation, which we have already we have been doing this work over last so many years. Now we last 2-3 years we have been able to demonstrate the commercial use of the cryopreserved milk in improving the stock of the hatcheries, and a few hatcheries, about more than a dozen hatcheries last 2-3 years. Our institute at NBFGR has been able to demonstrate the practical utility of this technology also. Coming to again, as I told, we have a huge resources of reservoir, 3 million hectares, which we have not been able to utilize fully. But of late, in last 10 years, if you see, there has been good development happening in the cage culture or pen culture for seed rearing, and cage culture for grow-out farming, from traditional cages to maybe advanced cages. Even the cage of only about 6 meter by 4 meter, a production of 3 ton plus have been able to, people are able to produce about 3 ton plus in a period of 6 to 8 month period. But we need to again study some of the places. People do say that we need to study probably the carrying capacity of the reservoirs, but we have not gone to that level. Our exploitation level of the reservoirs are just minuscule. We have just started, but at the same time, definitely we look for the EIA study, environmental impact assessment study. Definitely our institute at CIFRI has been working on this aspect. Friends, as I told, integrated farming, it is a traditional practice people are doing over the years. but there is the potential of this technology probably we have not been able to harness. When we are looking at this point of time, the country is talking about the doubling farmers' income, resource utilization becomes very important, and farming system approach is considered to be one of the important avenues everybody think. So we need to integrate fish, animal, and horticulture for giving the greater flexibility. Pedicom fish culture so important in some of the eastern Indian states, in some of the part of the northeast areas. We need to see that the technology is disseminated to the places wherever it is applicable. In the cold water front, yes, when you look at the production level, probably we have not been able to produce that much, but definitely the potential of the technology has been widely demonstrated, whether it is Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, and even in the Sikkim and Arunachal Pradesh, we have been able to demonstrate the potential of the raceway farming of trout. And in recent years, we have witnessed there has been increasing adoption with the feed available. We do understand feed is the most vital component when we are talking of the commercial high value species and carnivorous species like trout. So with the new feed coming in, I'm sure in the coming days also there will be increasing activity of these species and several other species besides the trout. We have mahasir, Chuckland mahasir, snow trout, and all. Breeding and seed production technology has been perfected. So I'm sure in the coming days, there will be not only in the land-based farming, only in the tanks or raceways, but also a cage culture of trout or other species will also be accepted as an important avenue. Coastal aquaculture front, we know that over the years, shrimp has been ruling, rather I would say in the coastal area, land-based coastal aquaculture in the brackish water areas. But of late, the cage culture, bivalve farming, seaweed culture has been taking, growing in a very high pace. Looking at the shrimp farming, as I told, we know that we started shrimp farming, probably commercial shrimp farming, about 3 decades back. But with monodon as the main species, of course, here and there people are doing also Indian white prawn, the indicas, but monodon was main species those days. In the initial period, we have seen in the early 90s, hatcheries established, semi-intensive farming started, no risk at all, high profit. So the growth was quite substantial. But in the late 90s to early 2000, we found there has been environmental concern, disease outbreak like WSSB. There was a high risk, but still there was a profit. Still there was profit because of the high demand of the prawn. But then a global price decrease, disease, fluctuating profit we found in the maybe in the late 2000, in the decade of 2000. And after the introduction of Benami, we have seen how the sector has grown. If you see the on the right side the graph, you would find how the farming, not only the area, but also production has increased substantially, and monodon has come down, and the production from Benami has increased substantially. But when you look at the potential area available, we say about 1.2 million hectare available area is available. We are able to use only about 1.8 lakh hectare of area. That means about 15% or 16% of the area we have been able to use. That shows the huge potential the sector has at this point of time. It is not the coastal states where we are looking at the extensive or semi-intensive farming. We know that over the years, Andhra Pradesh is the main leading state, but of late we find there has been substantial growth in farming activity in the places like Gujarat, part of the Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Odisha, and West Bengal, and so on and so forth. We have demonstrated the potential of farming of shrimp in the inland saline areas. Our center at Rohtak CIEFE has been able to demonstrate the potential of this technology, economic viability of the technology. And today, we say about a 1,000 acre area in Punjab and Haryana, there has been farming where people are able to produce similar quantity of the shrimp as that of the coastal areas. But when we look at the target, the government has set a target about 1.4 million ton of from the present level of about 8 lakh ton to about 14 lakh ton of shrimp we need to produce in next 5 years. That means if we consider the existing area can produce about 10 lakh ton of shrimp, that means additional whatever additional 4 lakh tons we need to produce. That means we need to expand add area about 80,000 hectare area, for which the capital investment would be quite huge, about 8,000 crores of investment that would be required from the private sector. Coming to seed production, seed is the important aspect all of us know. We have about 550 hatcheries which are producing at the level of about 60 billion of seed. But it is said that with the capacity, our hatchery, they would be able to probably meet the seed requirement. If not, maybe some more, maybe about additional 100 to 150 hatcheries probably necessary to be established. A capital investment somewhere around 1,000 crores would be necessary. Again, species diversification for the land-based farming in the coastal areas, or mariculture, open sea mariculture and all. Several spaces we have been able to demonstrate the potential of this technology. We have shown the potential last 10 years. If we see the growth from nowhere, we have got more than 3,000 cages operational throughout the coast. We're producing high value species like cobia, pompano, grouper, and so forth. Production of 2.5 to 3 ton from the small cages of 6 meter dia has been also possible in the period of 8 to 10 months of culture period, and showing the huge potential this country has for tapping the open waters of the country. When you look at the huge exclusive economic zone, in the coming 5 years, it is targeted at least we will have additional 30,000 additional cages, for which a huge capital investment, maybe about 12,000 crore, 1,200 crores would be necessary, only capital investment, besides the other recurring expenditure and so forth. But we have to go long. If you look at some of the development happening in the cage culture, whether it is mainly in the for the salmon farming in the Norway, you see some of the cages are so huge cages, having capacity producing about 6,000 tons to 10,000 tons, even from the single cage. Huge cage of about 400 meter plus meter length with huge investment. But probably we are not looking for such huge investment, because these are the cages which are probably more economically viable for the high value species like salmon, a temperate species which is not possible to for farming in our Indian waters. But definitely we will have a larger scope of having bigger cages, whether it is 50 meter dia or 30 meter dia, which for example, country like Chile or country like Norway, which traditionally they have been using. Not these are the bigger cages, but traditional cages are only 30 to 50 meter dia cages. We look forward for similar activity, industrial involvement in the coming days also. Bivalve farming, of course, we have been trying to do over the years, trying to disseminate the technology, but it has not gone beyond probably some of the coast like Kerala or Karnataka, shows a huge potential in the coming days. We have been talking of seaweed farming at this point of time as an important activity. The country should give emphasis. Here and there are small activity in the coast of Tamil Nadu or coast of Gujarat, but we have tried to again estimate or assess the potential zones. Our institute at CMFRI has been able to assess the areas which are potential for seaweed farming in the coming days. We consider the Kapaphysagas farming will be increased in coming days. Whatever the issues will be resolved, that is what we do understand. And IMTA is one of the integrated multi-trophic aquaculture with the integration of cage farming with seaweed has been able to demonstrate a huge potential, not only increasing the production and productivity, both in terms of in the cages as also in the seaweed, but also having a high potential has been demonstrated for bioremediation, that means water quality improvement and also carbon sequestration. So we sincerely believe in the coming days there will be increasing activity of the IMTA in the coming days. Some of the new farming system everybody talks today is the recirculatory aquaculture system, biofloc based system, whether it is for freshwater species, brackish water species, or marine species. We do consider it is an important technology, a technology which can revolutionize the production, definitely. But the country like India, probably before going for the high scale investment, we need to see the potential areas where we will be able to have a market for the live fish. Not everywhere, because we do not have the species at this point of time which are of high value at this point of time. We are only trying to work with the low value species like Pangasius, or some places, of course, in the catfishes like Singi or Magur and so forth. Probably we need to work a little more on the new species where there will be high potential for this sort of farming. We know these are some of the issues like capital intensive. You need 24/7 power, and we need to think for only high value species. But the species like, for example, sea bass, grouper, I'm sure in the coming days, these species will have increasing interest for biofloc or RAS technology. Of course, biofloc system in the shrimp farming, mainly in the nursery systems, are getting important at this point of time. People are switching over from the just talking a PL 10 or PL 15, 20 size to juveniles of 1 gram or 2 grams. So probably the system like biofloc technology will be an important game changer in the coming days. Ornamental is one area. We know that importance of ornamental fish when we compare with the country like even neighboring country like Sri Lanka or Thailand and all, we are nowhere. But considering the potential we have, we foresee in the coming days there will be increasing adoption of the farming for both freshwater and marine species. That is what we think, not only fish, but also all in the value chains. We have damsel, clown, and all breeding technology available at more than 20 species. We foresee in the coming days there will be increasing activity of this. Pearl culture, we have not done much, whether it is marine or freshwater. We have shown the potential, but there has been issues mainly with regard to the capacity building. We need to have a good skilled person for surgical implantation, which probably we do not have at this point of time. So more activity, training, skill development program will be important aspect need to be considered in the coming days. Nutrition and feed, we have done well. We have been able to increase our productivity of the farming because of the use of balanced feed, whether it is in the stream or in the floating feed in the finfishes, in the freshwater finfishes, whether it is calves or in the catfish like fungus. But when you look at the future, probably we need to again see that whatever the demand for the diversified species for the different life stages we need to meet. New ingredient search has to be given emphasis. We cannot focus only on the only availability of fish meal for the carnivorous species or shrimp. We need to have alternative sources. Those are some of the aspects. Disease is one of the area which we have been trying to give emphasis. The importance of disease, everybody understand at this point of time. At least during the last 1.5 years, the COVID era, everybody today talk of diagnostics, vaccines, quarantine, all those. Everybody can understand what are those important. The surveillance, necessity of surveillance program, emergency response system, which we have been talking not only in the human health sector, but also in the aquaculture sector. We need to think for emergency response system. in the coming days also. But looking at the target, we know that we have aspirations that we need to produce about 22 million ton in the next 5 years, not beyond. We have to have a target. We need to have potential assessment. Again, if we think aquaculture has to be a major contributor and freshwater aquaculture has to be the main contributor, rather I would say 14 million ton has to come from freshwater aquaculture. We need to decide what are those species we need to talk. Carp will remain as the main species because of the high acceptability of Indian consumers. But at the same time, we need to talk of diversification, high value species. Brachywater mariculture has to expand. Non-conventional intensive systems, as I told, whether RS, biofloc, and so forth. But there is new hope. With the new programs coming in, new strategies coming in, we know we have been having improved partnership happening between the institution, enterprise, and industries. We are talking of knowledge-based farming, as I told, separate ministry, all of you know, Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, all of you know. Already there has been policy support happening with the national fisheries policy being framed, improved value chain happening. So another 1 minute, I will try to complete. The way forward is we have to have several development strategies. Our way forward to research, whether it is species diversification, to water, to disease, to climate change, again, artificial intelligence, so and so forth. Outreach, which is so important, vital. Partnership, outreach, important. We are talking of special aquaculture zone and preparedness, as I told. But only most important thing is the knowledge dissemination. It is not today. Everybody understands. The proverb says, give a man a fish and you feed him a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a whole life. So that means how the dissemination of technology dissemination is important, whether it is conventional means, demonstration training, skill development, e-platform, so and so forth. We need to have a partnership. That is what has been the major focus. It is not the research institute, developmental departments, everybody who are involved, who are associated ministry. I am sure in the coming days there will be increasing partnership. Supply chain, which is so important, important and major areas of entrepreneurship. We see from the hatcheries to input supply to craft gear, everything has to happen in the coming days. And most important is the market. You can produce, but there should be buyers to purchase. We need to think for market. Domestic market has to grow, not only for the calves, but also shrimp. How long we can how long we can depend on the external market, Japan, US, and all. We need to think for the market, to tap the market of the domestic market for the shrimp, but at the same time, international market for the freshwater fish. Infrastructure has to be improved. Investment has to come for the hygienic market, live fish supply or reaching to the consumers, demand creation for high processed and value products, and knowledge dissemination is also equally important. Allied fish as a health food. To end, the goal is quite big. Fish for all, we have been talking over last 2 decades, fish for all. And it is not fish for all for today, tomorrow, but forever. And we don't want only quantity, but also quality and variety. Quality, variety, equally important. That is what diversification I did talk of. For that, we need to talk of sustainable aquaculture, responsible aquaculture, inclusive aquaculture. We cannot only depend on the industrial front. Industrial aquaculture, inclusive aquaculture also is important. And I'm sure always there is a good time for aquaculture. We need not wait for that. Anybody like to be getting involved in aquaculture, it is always a good time. And I'm sure all will feel joy for having aquaculture for a fish. And as we say, fish for health and fish for wealth, this is the slogan of Shifa Bhubaneswar. And that is what has been coined about 2.5 decades back. Thank you very much, friends, for your patience hearing. I took a little more time probably, so question answer. I am open for any question you would like to have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Jana, for your wonderful talk. I think you have done justice for linking the fish for the food security, income growth, social upliftment, and the healthy topic, which was your topic for today. You have not left any dimension of this fish. Started from its culture, the various research aspects, various kind of fishes, and then up to the market, the government policies and other kind of things. So really, I am sure that with this important lecture, the audience must have been greatly benefited. And we have a very enlightened audience today. They are vice chancellors, there are many directors I see, Padma Shri Sultan Singh, the farmer is also there. I see many scientists, and there was a great number beyond 300, but we could accommodate 300. But I'm sure using the social media, many persons will be able to connect, and it will be recorded. It has been recorded. You can see and you can distribute it to the other persons who are interested to know this important lecture, the various aspects covered by Dr. Jana. In this today's audience, we also have our Deputy Director General, Animal Science, Dr. Tripathi ji. So thank you, Dr. Tripathi ji, for joining. We have also Dr. G.K. Singh, Vice Chancellor from Mathura, Dr. Mittal from Meerut, and many others. I could not see the complete list. It's difficult to read all 300 names, but some of them I could identify. So certainly there will be a lot of questions and other things, though it was self-explanatory. So we may take some important questions, and you can raise your electronic hand. I see just one hand, Dr. Niranjan Sarang. So if you can ask your question, please. Dr. Niranjan Sarang. He's from Chhattisgarh. Okay. Anybody else who wants to have, just a minute, let me just, Dr. Sarang, now I have unmuted all.
Sir, I have one question.
Yes, Dr. Dinesh.
Yeah, sir, it's a very weird and foolish question I'm trying to ask DDG, sir. Sir, you in your way forward, I did not see you mentioning aquaculture going along horticulture, because now the in thing, especially in the peri-urban and urban horticulture, there is very great opportunity for boosting the productivity and production of especially leafy vegetables when we make use of the fish's excreta through aquaculture. What is your thinking on that, sir?
Thank you very much, Dr. Dineshji. I do understand I could not do justice including everything, but at some point of time I did mention about the importance of farming systems, importance of farming system integrating fish, animal and livestock and horticulture component, though I did not narrate it. And beside this, at present, there has been increasing emphasis on, again, hydroponics, for example. There has been increasing interest on hydroponics, integrating fish with the vegetables, leafy vegetables you rightly mentioned, or high value crops. That is what has been happening, and there has been some commercial interest also in the coming days. And I'm sure there will be great scope of integrating fish and horticulture components, whether it is vegetables, leafy vegetables, or otherwise also. Thank you very much, Dr. Dinesh.
Thank you, sir.
Any other query by any other participant?
Yes, I have just one query, please.
Please.
Balki Saab.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Dr. Jaina. Thank you very much for hearing to your lecture. It was wonderful and informative. I just heard that we have reached from 9 kg consumption to 18 kg almost this time. So it's a wonderful thing to note. But my point of worry is that there is a huge gap between demand and supply all over the country. So what is ICAR? Is ICAR doing anything in aggressive manner to bridge this gap in next 10 years or 20 years? I'd be very happy to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Balki Saab. As I told, the consumption has increased from 9 kg to 20.5 kg. It is in the global front, global average. But if you see the India, consumption of India, probably somewhere around 7 to 8 kilo per capita at this point of time. We know there has been an increase in demand over these years. People are realizing that fish as a good health food. And Government of India with the new Ministry Department of Fisheries is also working to take the message. One thing, taking the message that fish as a good health food. Second is improving production and market. Thing is producing thing, but producing quality fish and providing the quality fish to the ultimate consumer are important. All these aspects are being looked also at this point of time by the as ICAR. You know, the mandate of ICAR does not 100% is that, but definitely our research on market research, we have been trying to facilitate market research. We have been trying to give some of the modules, and I'm sure in the coming days, the Ministry of Fisheries, Animals and Dairy with the new Department of Fisheries, and all of us together will see that there is increased consumption. People are aware about the fish as a health food. And we provide the fish, as I told last slide, I told fish for all forever, quality, quantity, and variety. That is what we envisage in the coming days. Thank you, Dr. Sabai.
Thank you. God bless you. God bless
Sir,
you.
I have a query, sir. Can I
Dr.
ask?
Imelda, Dr.
Yes.
Imelda, please.
Sir, we could develop sea-cage farming technology indigenously because of the major funding from Ministry of Agriculture in 2005-6 period and from NFDB later on demonstrations and research. But now you have mentioned that biofloc and for marine fishes and RAS. For that, the funding which is offered by DOF is very less. It is 50 lakhs maximum I have seen, and that too only some subsidy part. So if we are getting major funding, we can develop that technology to the which can be useful for the public and demonstrate like that. So what are the avenues available in the current state?
Dr. Imelda, all of us realize that RAS and biofloc, if you need to work, you need to have investment. You told about the money available in the NFDB or DOF, but that is not the only source. We as a ICAR, not necessary that we only depend on them. For our pilot study, we can invest whatever resource available, we can invest or look for other avenues, other resources for the RKPY or any other programs which the country has. I'm sure with the person like you, you should look for the other alternative source, not only depending on the one source. But let us be optimistic that there will be resources available from either ICAR or DOF, from any other sources, and you should be able to develop the technology and provide to the people.
Yeah, we have
that is what we expect.
Thank you.
Sir, I am Dr. Somkar from NRC Grapes.
Yes, Dr. Somkar.
Are you getting my voice, sir?
Yes, very much.
Yeah, sir, good morning, everyone. It was really a very nice lecture, sir. Enlightened everyone. Since I'm from grape, see, grape is being cultivated in the area where we get very less rainfall. And in that area, mainly in grape growing area, people are storing water by small storage tanks. And now in each area, more than 300 storage tanks are there built up, ponds. And in the small area where mainly if it is a 2000 acre area, there will be 300 to 400 ponds will be there. The capacity of ponds will vary from 5 lakh to even 2 crore liter. Those areas have not been explored so far for fish cultivation. We have initiated one project with Konkan Krishi Vidyapit, and we have started doing some research for irrigating the cultivation of those fishes in that ponds or tanks, and utilizing those water by whether it is improving or nutrient use efficiency of that vineyard or not. That is a different research. But if we think of and if we extend our research in those areas which I feel it is unexplored one, this can be taken up by your division, sir. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shankar. Yes, as you rightly told, wherever there is water available, we should use judiciously. yes, you have been using for irrigation, but at the same time, we are not able to exploit the water fully. That is what water productivity, we talk of water use efficiency, how can we increase? So probably our institute like CIPA Bhubaneswar will be happy to join hands with you for taking those areas, doing few demonstrations there, showing the potentiality. Take it granted, no way it is going to affect your production of grapes. Rather, it will the water with a more enrichment with the nitrogen, phosphorus, and so on and so forth, you will be able to increase the productivity of your crops, definitely. And we would be happy to join hands with you and see that few demonstration here and there we do, so that there is greater acceptability of this technology and introduction of fishes wherever there are small or big water bodies are available.
Sir, nutrient use efficiency will be different, but first and foremost important part should be extension of the cultivation in those ponds should be a priority one, because there are many ponds available where we can introduce, where we can extend our cultivation in those areas. This will be more beneficial.
That is what I mentioned. We will be happy to join hands with you with our institute at CIPA Bhubaneswar. I think our director of CIPA, Dr. Swami, is available. I will tell him to contact with you. At least few places we need to demonstrate that this water body can be productively used for fish farming also.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your question. We keep questioning because we are from the same system, but we can invite the questions from some farmers. Sultan Singh ji, do you have any question? Sultan Singh, आपके पास कोई प्रश्न है पूछने के लिए? शायद
आपको मिले थे हम लास्ट वीक,
नहीं सुन पा रहे सर।
तो
चलिए, और किसी के पास कोई प्रश्न हो तो आप पूछ सकते हैं। बहुत ही मैं सारे चैट बॉक्स में देख रहा हूँ, हर आदमी तारीफ कर रहा है कि बहुत ही इंफॉर्मेटिव लेक्चर था। तो मुझे नहीं लगता है कि बहुत ज्यादा प्रश्न हैं लोगों के पास में। बहुत ही सेल्फ एक्सप्लेनेटरी लेक्चर था। अगर कोई प्रश्न नहीं है, if there is no other question, so we can thank.
मेरा एक कमेंट था, डॉक्टर साहब has covered everything. Dr. Jena has covered everything. It has been so complete that I thought it will be. I will ask a slide also. So much of data, all the data are very important, and the entire picture of India and vis-a-vis world fish and fishery science, fishery sector as such. So, and also he has shown that how unparalleled growth, more than 10% growth annual is not a small thing. So you might surpass the investment also sometimes later in you. So that's a wonderful lecture, sir. That's wonderful lecture and very, very inclusive. Everything was there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Tripathi sir. Thank you, Dr. Tripathi sir.
I also joined Dr. Tripathi in complimenting you for giving so much data in such a short period. And especially some of the figures, they were really very informative for us and very surprising that 7% is the contribution in the GVA by this fishery sector, and so much, a huge number. You have just told 2,13,000 crores is the revenue we get through this fishery sector, and so much data I can just really cannot even digest. So really, it was an eye opener for me. It must have been eye opener for many of our even fishery scientists to know the complete landscape of fisheries sector in India and at the global level. So thank you very much, sir. And I'm from my core of heart, I'm so grateful to you for preparing